They found the first body by the edge of town, ripped open like a warning. I thought I was ready to confess what really happened under that full moon. But before I can tell you how the blood got on my hands, you need to understand what it's like to lose yourself, to become something else. It started small, gaps in time, dreams that felt more like memories. I'd wake up drenched in sweat, or worse, in dirt. Once I found claw marks on my bedroom door from the inside. The animals in town grew quiet when I passed. The stray dog that used to follow me growled low one night and ran. Something was wrong. Not outside me, inside. And on the first full moon after my 17th birthday, something inside me answered. This is the story no one wants told. The one the town pretends never happened. This is the werewolf among us, a psychological horror. Werewolf tale about what happens when your reflection starts to grow fangs. A werewolf transformation story where the real terror isn't what you become. It's realizing you always were. Welcome to Redridge, a nowhere town nestled deep in the pines, wrapped in mist and silence. The kind of place where secrets rot beneath the soil and every trail ends in a whisper. By day, it's all gravel roads, rusted mailboxes, and kids who grow up too fast. But at night, the shadows stretch longer. The woods don't just surround Redridge, they devour it. The full moon hangs over it all, bright enough to reveal things better left unseen. That's when he hunts, and I was his first vessel. If you're still listening, scratch your name in the bark, leave something behind, a like, a whisper, a sign, before the beast inside me realizes, you know. They called it a wild animal attack. That's what the sheriff told the town after they found Mason's body half buried in the riverbank mud. Torn open like a sack of meat, ribs exposed, one sneaker dangling from a power line 2 blocks away. But there were no tracks, no signs of a bear, no fur, no droppings, just blood. And Mason's mangled grin. People whispered about wolves, but Redridge hadn't seen wolves in years. And yet, something had ripped through muscle like paper. Something that didn't kill to feed, something that enjoyed it. I remember waking up that same morning. My window open, my fingernails broken, caked with dirt, my sheets soaked with blood. Not mine. And inside me, silence. Not the kind you hear in a quiet room, the kind you feel when something's hiding in the walls of your own skull. I told no one. At school, the grief hung thick, but I couldn't feel it. Mason used to sit behind me in bio. We dissected frogs together. I should have cried, but all I could think was, did I do this? That night, I scratched at my arms until I bled. The smell made my stomach twist with hunger. I stood in front of the mirror and waited for something to change. Nothing did, but I swear, the reflection blinked before I did enter Lily. She was the only one who noticed how pale I looked, how I flinched when she touched my arm. She leaned in and whispered, "Something's wrong with you, Ethan." And I couldn't argue, because I'd started seeing things. A figure at the edge of the forest, always watching, never moving. Glowing yellow eyes like fireflies caught in tar. They'd vanish the moment I focused, but their burn stayed in my brain. They weren't watching me, they were waiting. The moon waxed fuller, my skin felt too tight, my heart beat too loud. Some nights I'd catch myself growling in my sleep. Once I woke up outside, barefoot in the woods, leaves tangled in my hair, shirt ripped open like claws had torn through it from the inside. The worst part? I felt good, alive, powerful, and that terrified me more than the blood. There's a saying in Redridge, don't look at the moon too long. It might look back. I used to think it was just folklore, but now I know better. Because when Mason died, I wasn't asleep, I just wasn't me. It happened on the 3rd full moon. I didn't sleep that night, not because I was afraid of dreams, but because I was afraid of not waking up from them. I paced my room like a caged thing, skin twitching, muscles tensing. The hum in my bones wasn't pain, it was anticipation. Then the wind shifted. The smell of pine and meat hit me through a closed window. I dropped to my knees, gasping. My gums ached. My jaw popped. My spine arched backward like a marionette yanked by invisible strings. I screamed, but it came out wrong. It was a wet, snarling sound, like something was caught in my throat. Something with teeth. The first transformation is not a moment. It's a war. Bone snaps, skin tears. You feel your ribs bow outward, your fingertips burst open to reveal claws you never knew you had. It doesn't happen all at once. No cinematic flash. It crawls across you. A curse that unwraps your body inch by inch like a violent bloom. Fur sprouted in patches across my shoulders, my chest. My hands split at the palms, reshaping into grotesque weapons. And my mind didn't scream. It howled. I ran into the woods barefoot, my back hunched, limbs half animal, half human. Not quite a wolf, not quite a boy, a monster in motion. The forest felt alive beneath my feet, branches parting for me, leaves whispering secrets I somehow understood. My senses bloomed. Every heartbeat, every rustle, every breath of prey within 50 feet, I knew them. And then I hunted. I stalked deer at first, small creatures, but it didn't satisfy the hunger. That came later. The scent hit me like lightning. Warm blood, soap, perfume. Human. I padded through the trees, low and silent until I saw them. 2 teens from school smoking behind the gas station. I recognized them. Tyler and Grace. I should have turned back, should have fought it. But the wolf doesn't care about names. It cares about weakness, movement, pulse. I pounced. They never even screamed. I woke up the next morning face down in the dirt, shirt torn, mouth stained with something dark. My stomach churned with guilt, and something darker, satisfaction. Later, that day, the town learned that Grace was in a coma. Tyler was missing. People whispered about serial killers, cults, satanic rituals. No one looked at the quiet kid with bloodshot eyes and cracked fingernails. But Lily did. She cornered me after class, voice trembling. "Where were you last night, Ethan?" I opened my mouth to lie, but I saw it in her eyes. She already knew. I walked away. I didn't have answers. Only memories and claws that wouldn't stop shaking. That night I stood in front of the mirror again. I looked for signs, scars, clues, something that could prove it wasn't real. Instead, I saw yellow. My eyes glowed in the dark. Faint, but real. And in my reflection, smile, fangs. The voice in my head was no longer silent. It growled, it tempted. It whispered, "You were made for this. They fear you because they should." The predator was no longer hiding. He lived beneath my skin, and each night he clawed closer to the surface. In the dark between thoughts, she whispered into the void, "If you've heard his story this far, leave a mark, a comment, a howl in the dark. It may be the only thing that keeps him human. Like, share, tell someone before the next full moon rises." It happened on a Wednesday. No full moon, no fog. Just rain slapping the rooftop like fingers tapping glass. I thought I was safe. I was wrong. Lily came to my house unannounced. She said she needed notes for chemistry, but her eyes said otherwise. They were searching for something beneath my skin. I tried to smile, act normal, but my hands shook as I handed her my notebook. And that's when it fell. The scrap of fabric. A piece of Tyler's hoodie, blood crusted along the edge. Lily stared at it, then at me, and whispered, "It's you." I tried to lie, swore I didn't know what it was, but the tremble in my voice betrayed me. The wolf smiled inside me. It liked this. She turned to run, but I blocked the door without meaning to. Something inside me had moved first. Not instinct, possession. "Lily," I gasped. "Don't run. Too late." The beast beneath my skin stirred. It wanted the chase. I followed her through the rain-drenched woods, breath steaming, nails splitting, open. My body bent in ways it shouldn't have, mid-change, muscles flexing under skin that hadn't finished shifting, half human, half horror. "Please," I begged, "don't make me finish this." She tripped, rolled, hit her head against a root, and I stood above her, claws dripping, teeth lengthening, heart thudding with 2 rhythms, mine and his. But then she said it. "I know you're still in there." Something snapped, not a bone this time, a thought, a tether pulling me back from the edge. I screamed, not in pain, in resistance. I clawed, at my own chest trying to tear the wolf out. I howled into the void, begging it to stop, and it listened. Just enough. I ran deep into the woods, farther than I ever had before. I fell to my knees in a patch of moonlight, my body steaming, my nails soaked in mud, and for the first time, I cried. Not because I was scared, because I had almost killed the only person who believed in me. Lily didn't tell anyone, but she didn't speak to me for days. And when she did, she left a note in my locker. If you're still in there, fight. Because if you don't, no one else will. They say every curse needs a witness. If you've made it this far, then maybe the story's already wrapped around your spine. Leave a sign, a comment, a howl, a mark that says you were here. Because once it knows your name, it never forgets. The next full moon came too fast. I marked it on the calendar, tried everything to prepare. Chains, locks, cold showers. But you can't chain a hurricane. And you can't drown a fire that's already inside your chest. I stayed in the basement that night, wrapped myself in chains meant for trucks, told Lily not to come. She left me food and a note. If you remember anything, remember who you are. I stared at the moon through the cracked basement window as it rose behind the trees, and that was the last clear moment I had. The transformation this time was faster, hungrier, worse. My bones didn't protest, they welcomed it. My skin didn't tear, it peeled back like it had been waiting. My mouth stretched wide enough to scream my own name and forget it in the same breath. I broke the chains, splintered the door, clawed through drywall. I was a creature now, barefoot, blood-drunk, driven by scent. And the sheriff was already waiting. Sheriff Danner had spent 3 decades chasing monsters with guns and common sense. But this time he brought silver. I don't know how he figured it out. Maybe it was Lily, maybe it was the footprints outside the morgue. Either way, when I leapt from the tree line, he didn't flinch. He fired once, right through my shoulder. Or, not in pain, in rage. I pounced, claws ripping into his side, teeth scraping bone. We crashed through brambles, blood smearing the bark. He fought like a man with nothing left to lose. I fought like a thing that already had. And then Lily appeared, screaming my name, not his, not monster, but mine. She stood between us, one hand outstretched, one tear falling. Ethan, if you kill him, there's no coming back. My jaws locked around the sheriff's neck. His pulse throbbed between my teeth, my breath steamed. The forest held its breath, and in that moment, I saw myself, not in a mirror, but in Lily's eyes, and I hated what stared back. I let go. The sheriff collapsed, barely breathing. I turned, stumbled into the woods, left behind blood, footprints, and the last scraps of who I used to be. That night I didn't sleep. The beast inside me didn't purr. It laughed, because it knew the truth. You didn't spare him because you're good. You spared him because you want to do it again. The curse doesn't want obedience, it wants permission, and I had almost given it. It was supposed to be the last full moon. That's what I told myself. If I couldn't control it this time, I wouldn't come back. I left a note on my bed. No goodbyes. Just a few words scratched in blood-red ink. Tell Lily I'm sorry. The wolf wins. I went deep into the forest, past the old ranger station, to the place no one ever goes, where the trees grow in twisted spirals, and the air hums with a sound that isn't wind. That's where it began, and that's where it had to end. But the beast didn't wait for nightfall. The moment the sun dipped below the horizon, I felt it rise inside me, hot, molten, eager. The bones cracked louder this time. Skin peeled off like burnt paper. My eyes rolled back and came forward glowing. Fur burst from my spine in tufts, veins blackened, teeth lengthened. My mouth tore itself open to become something feral. I fell to all fours, snarling, foaming. The transformation was complete. There was no Ethan, only the wolf. And then I saw her, Lily. She had followed me. Even now, even here, carrying nothing but a flashlight and the letter I left. Ethan, I don't believe you're gone. She dropped the flashlight, stepped forward. Come back, please. The wolf tilted its head, growled low, something primal, curious. Then the gunshot. Sheriff Danner again, bleeding, limping, still alive. He hadn't come to save me. He'd come to end it. The shot missed. The wolf lunged. Lily screamed. The woods turned into chaos. Flashes of silver, snapping jaws, screaming wind. It pinned the sheriff. Fangs bared. Saliva dripping. Another shot. Pain bloomed across my ribcage. But I didn't stop. Then Lily threw herself between us. "No," she screamed. "You don't kill what you love." For a second, just a second, the beast hesitated. It sniffed her. It blinked. And in that blink, I saw myself again. And I fought from inside the creature. I clawed my way up through the black. I grabbed the part of me that still remembered my name. My heart screamed. My skin blistered. My throat howled. I pushed him back, claw by claw, snarl by snarl, and then I stood, human, barefoot, bleeding, naked, but not ashamed. The wolf crouched behind, my eyes snarling, but defeated. The sheriff lowered his weapon. Lily collapsed into me. We cried, not because we were safe, but because we weren't sure who survived. In the distance, the moon began to set. The sky lightened, the curse retreated. But we all knew it wasn't over. Not yet. I left town the next morning, didn't say goodbye, didn't pack, just walked. Wound still fresh, heart still raw. And the wolf still there, coiled inside my chest like smoke behind glass. They said I was lucky, that I'd survived something. No one understood. But I wasn't lucky. I was dangerous. I saw Lily one last time, from across the road. She didn't wave, didn't cry. She just looked at me with eyes that said everything. You saved me, but lost yourself. I disappeared, into the forest, back to where it started. The trees welcomed me this time, not as prey, but as kin. And for a while, I thought I had control. Until the wind shifted again. Until I smelled blood, until I heard it, a howl. Not mine. Because there's something they never tell you about the curse. It spreads through blood, through fear, through witnesses. Lily wasn't untouched. The sheriff wasn't either. All it takes is one night, one scream, one bite. I'm not the only one now. There's more of us, and we're always watching. So maybe now you understand. Or maybe you're just another whisper in the woods. Either way, you've heard the tale. You've seen what hides beneath the skin, and the full moon rises again soon. If you're still human, mark your presence. Like, comment, share this with someone who still believes in monsters, because the next time you hear a howl in the dark, it might be someone you know. Thank you for watching. Remember, fear seekers, in the world of horror, the scariest things happen when you least expect them, and trust me, you don't want to be left in the dark. Like, share, and subscribe. Welcome to the darkness.